Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. So I have a special guest. Annette is in the building, and let me tell you, she is the jack of all trades. I just learned about her. She not only does she have a green thumb, author, branding expert. I met her through K's, and she's doing a lot. I don't even know. She's a modern day Renaissance woman. I don't know the better way to describe it, but she's going to share with us all her knowledge, her wisdom, and everything she's working on. Annette, how's it doing this morning? How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here sharing some of, me with you guys, hopefully inspiring others.
Oh, you definitely are inspirational. So now, for those people who have not had the pleasure of meeting you, I always like you hear in different episodes. I ask people this question: Who are you? And I know that's a deep question, and you could take that as far and wide as you want, or narrow it down. But who is Annette?
That's a very good question. And that is still in the making. Uh, I am a owner of Aroara. It's spelled Aroara, and I have developed that over the time of since the COVID started to now, to kind of encompass all that I have been doing and all that I want to do over the next, hopefully decades of my life. My design work, my work with children, doing children's books. Eventually, I'll get to sharing a bit of my green thumb, but I have been doing classes with cooking and sharing my knowledge with herbology, working with oils, things of that nature. Whatever I have in me, I just want to give.
Nah.
Not only just to my community, I want to be in part, leaving something behind on this earth to make it better.
I love that. And me and you are both in that same trajectory of just giving and giving back. As I shared with you earlier, that's the whole reason I started this podcast is to give to our community of young folks and people who have just limiting beliefs about what they do. We're more than just athletes and ball players. And there's so many just amazing, Black and African people just doing great things all across this great nation and around the world. And I wanted to highlight that until this Black excellence that we provide just becomes a normal visual. And then it's like, you know what? I think I want to be a scientist. I think I want to be like that young lady from Aroara, and I think that's something that me and you both share. Another thing I love about what you're doing is you started around the same time as me during the pandemic, right? Like I started like 6 months in. How like where in the like how far in the pandemic did you start, and what has that journey been like?
I would say maybe a few months after, because for me, and just to give you a little background, it is a very, I don't even know how to call it. It's like a fragile thing with me with when it comes to the pandemic, because I already have cystic fibrosis, and because of that, I was always a person who had like coughing fits. So during COVID, it was like So it was very difficult for me to be in public spaces already. And that just kind of wiped it out. And it was a lot for me, because growing up, it was already hard to get into a space where I felt comfortable and safe. So then COVID kind of took out any possibility of it happening for me in this space where I'm trying to, give back, do things with children and whatnot. So being able to do a lot of things online really helped in a way where I felt like it's still possible, because I was trying here and there, but now it's possible for me to take it a little more full time in a safe space, and talking and getting to know people all over the world, that places I would probably never get to see.
Yeah, I think that was one of the blessings. with COVID is that it made the world much smaller because now we went online to meet people, and have those conversations, and so it was a gift and a curse. It was like, oh, the in person thing came to a halt, so we don't get that personal connection, but we found different ways to find connection and community, and your vision of community may have changed in COVID, right? Because you found these new online people like, oh, these my peoples over here.
My community expanded immensely, especially with people of color.
Yeah.
I I can't even describe it. I've made more friends in this last 2 years than my whole life.
But there's a whole bunch of black people in Brooklyn. What you mean?
Okay, it's a bit different now. We know our people sometimes. It's a little. I think you know what I'm trying to say. And particularly when it came to people of color with my illness, that community really grew for me.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't, being that it's considered rare, to know that it's not that rare, it's just not diagnosed in us.
Yeah.
Very often, for a multitude of reasons. I could speak to that later as well because I joined a lot of different groups I didn't even know existed just for people of color with this, disability.
Okay. And I think that has a lot to do and say with our medical system, for those who are listening and don't have the understanding and correlation, the medical system has sometimes not been always up to par when serving the black community. We'll say it at that. If you look at issues like birth fertility rates for black females, one of the highest compared to white women. I think I just saw just 2 months ago, the first ever like black type of medical like practice chart, like all of it used to be always white, and then some kid from medical school says, hey, why do we not have one like a medical this whatever this practice doll or chart thing is, and why do we not have one that has melanin in it? Like, why is everything always white? And he created the first one. I was like, man, it took us that long just to create a different version. Here's another great story. Band-Aids, right? The a group of dads, because there was a dad who had adopted a child, and this child had got hurt, and they adopted a child of color, and they wanted a Band-Aid, but they wanted a Band-Aid that matched its complexion, so it wouldn't highlight the fact that they had this thing cover their wound, and so a group of dads decided to, come up with a fixture for this by creating, Band-Aids with different color melanin, and teamed up with a doctor. Now, Band-Aids had this idea, mind you, some time, but they never put it to fruition. And then these dads put it out because they realized there's a psychological safety in having a bandage that's in your complexion, so it's not overly being highlighted, and also it helps healing from the psychological standpoint and the physical standpoint. And it wasn't until it became popular that Band-Aids decided to start having Band-Aids in all different colors, right? To match and so these are the things that we miss sometimes when we're not invited to the table, or things are not made with the interest of serving all the different communities that are out there.
Yeah. I didn't know about those until I started shopping on We Buy Black. So many things I've been exposed to that I'm just like, wow, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so grateful for that. And it, just like you said, that mental healing, like I teach my child, like, I have that to teach my child. No one had it for me when I was a kid because it didn't exist. So just even having that ability to do that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So tell me about the making of Aroara. Like, give me like first. How did you come up with that name? Was that name derived from? And then the go into the making of this amazing company.
Well, I was always inspired by the lights,
Okay.
the northern lights, the Aurora Borealis. But I was like, okay, I need a different take on the name, the wording, legalese. And my aunt said, roar like a tiger. And I'm like, that's a very good idea. I thought about my daughter because that her sign is a Leo. And I just kind of mashed the roar together. That birthed that because it's lights, it's beautiful, but it's also fierce and aggressive.
Ooh, I love it.
And that's me. I'm people see me as very quiet and small. There's a lot in this little package.
Look, it's hard to tell that you small through camera, like because you got big energy, and I would have thought you was a 6-footer over there, or at least a 5'11" or something.
Up until probably this year, I was honest about my height. I was like, yeah, I'm 5 foot. My family we're all short. We're all little ladies. Little balls of fire. Under 5 feet.
But I don't mess with the 5 foot and under women in my family because they got big energy. They'll let you know about yourself. I'll be sitting in the corner somewhere like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. All right. What do you need me to do? they over there, they like the little mafia of the family. They got us all running around doing stuff like they the sergeant commander in chiefs of the families.
It's true. It's true.
So give me your best elevator pitch for Aurora. For like if somebody's to work with Aurora, like what's your elevator pitch?
Innovation in mental health, I would say, because I'm hitting it from a different perspective.
Okay.
And it's not new per se, but it's one that, just like within our community, is very underserved. Our youth, first of all, and I don't just mean like the teenagers. I'm talking about the babies.
Yeah.
And even though I work with adults in my design work, I work with everyone in my social work. But when it comes to my books and working with costumes, I try to focus on the children because that's where everything starts. It's from the ground up, and they are the root. And I take it right back to growing and earth. I'm an earth mama, so everything comes from there for me. If you don't sow the seed in the right soil, fertilize it and water it and give it that love energy that it needs to grow and be the tree you want it to be, or the fruit, the plant, the flower. It explains a lot of why we have what we have now, what's going on with media, what's going on with our kids. It's very disheartening to me when I hear about, because I work in social work, so I'm close to people in ACS as well. The suicide rates of children are, just as high as adults. And it's just, heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
That's what's needed.
Do you think some of that has to do with media, social media, and I don't know. I feel like it's this social media generation like that. Every time they get likes or go on and see other people and the way they live, and even though it's not as a facade, it's just one segment piece of people's life. It's this dopamine that's like just feeling this fuel, and then it's like an addiction. I don't know. I don't know how to better explain it.
Absolutely, and I feel like it's not new. In a lot of my work, I have to look at things from past, present, and kind of future, where it's going. I do a lot of spiritual work as well with people, and that's something I've been developing since, the pandemic. When you look at human history, we always have had something. We're just more, open to it now because we have so many ways about getting to what's going on. Doesn't mean it wasn't going on. But the things we've come away from a lot of the time, which was holding us and keeping us from kind of going off the deep end, spirituality, religion, having stronger bonds in our community, all the things you were talking about before that we're kind of missing now. And that's kind of the crux of what it is, because when you have, your child sitting in front of the TV all day, media is raising them. So whatever media wants to put out, and media has been scientifically, controlling how we think and move for generations. It's time for us to kind of go back to having more routine in how we deal with the outside. Outside in the sense of places we go, the things we watch, the things we let in. Because I see a lot of people turning away from, religion. There's a lot out in the world. You have all this exposure. You have so many options. And there's nothing wrong with options. But, you have to be mindful of what you're letting in, how you're letting it in, and what you're doing with it. And it doesn't just happen. Everyone has their kind of backstory, how they grew up. And you never really think about it until possibly when you're going through therapy, which is really huge right now because it's sorely needed. What little things in, your life that you came up with you thought was normal that really plays a part in how you're living your life today, what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you. It takes a long time. A lot of people think it's, speak to somebody once or twice, figure this out, it'll go away. Or you can maybe take a little fast from Facebook for a while and it'll be okay. It doesn't, it's not okay. It's not okay, especially if you are a teenager. They don't fast at all. And if they do, it's like right back into the drama, right back into it. I did a podcast once and I talked about that. And I was trying to understand. There was someone who was speaking about the suicide rates in teenagers. I see it more now when I've done the research, because I try to do a little background before I get into certain topics, because I know it's a serious issue. I don't personally have anyone I know that has been through it, but looking at some of the reasons, I feel like, and I don't want to be cold, but a lot of the time it's step away from the computer. For me, it's where was the adult in the situation when it comes to a child monitoring these things. I can't see me allowing my child to have free reign on the internet at a certain age, because the internet is just like chaos. It's chaos. Kids need control. They need routine. It's very necessary. It's also necessary to, as an adult, you have to kind of know when to pull back. You want to understand them on their level. You want to not shelter them or bubble them. Because I do feel like I had a little bit of that growing up because of my issues. But I feel like my mom kind of held no punches, especially in Brooklyn. Yeah. There's a little bit of both. I came up in a family that sent me away in the summer to the country. So I got the city and I got the country. So I got the, jaded, look straight, don't, take no business from anyone. And I got the yes ma'am, no ma'am, Sunday school, spending all day outside in the farm. So it's like having that made me more well-rounded. And so I got to see things from more than one perspective.
You got the best of both worlds, honestly, because you got a mixture of that city, which made you the city life, which made you very aware, made you very probably more street smart, if I would say, and savvy. And then you got that southern living that gave you the grounding of respect, elders, that connection to Mother Earth by that farm to table type stuff that they have from the South. So that explains a lot about your extracurriculars and then some of your career. Now that you tell that story, and I'm like, oh, I can see the connections there. So now I know a lot of your background is rooted in that social work kind of aspect. How did you? Well, tell me, how did you get into social work? Like, what was that like? Where was your parents like? Oh, you know what? I think you should go this career path, or did this something that you kind of stumbled across and you turned it into what it is today, as far as your career pathway?
I would say that's definitely a stumble.
Uh,
My family is very creative.
okay.
They're very much into art. So that was a lot of my upbringing. And I would say, most of my childhood creating and sewing. And that was kind of my solace.
Hmm.
Again, it goes back to my illness because I was
Hmm.
in the hospital a lot.
Yeah.
So that kept me, at peace, going
Mm.
through treatments and stuff like that. And I did making clothes for my dolls as I got older, for myself, little costumes and things. And that was just a hobby. I didn't think
So you
much
were a
of it.
fashion designer, and that was only a hobby. Let me tell you, this woman, every time she talks, she has a new thing that she's did, and oh, that was just a hobby.
I've done so much. It's like up until now, I'm now like funneling it all down into what I will become and go forth with. But it took all those experiences. I first went to medical school, actually.
Get out of here.
Um, I did medical assisting for a time when I got out of high school. And it was kind of forced on me. I did want to get into something relating to human services,
Uh-huh.
mostly because, my illness. I wanted to also, learn how to treat myself
Hmm.
and also help others.
Yeah.
That was always in me, but that wasn't my passion.
Mm.
So I actually went back to school and went into design and merchandising. And then I
Mm.
worked in fashion and apparel for about 15 years or so.
Mhm.
Um, and that really honed my skills. I didn't think I needed to go to school until I went to school because I was already doing it for so long. And that really had me take off with doing more hobbies because I still
Mhm.
worked my regular job. And then afterward, I would do commission work,
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff from cosplay for Comic Con to Star Trek, uh, local stuff. And that was fun for me. It really fed my soul.
Mhm.
Here and there, I got to do volunteer work, dressing up and doing the same thing I always do for kids, teaching them how to
Mhm.
make and craft.
Yeah.
Those things made me very happy, but I wanted to do that actually more than what I was doing
Okay.
and getting to know more about the industry I was in. I was a little disgusted, I'm sorry to say, learning about the way kids are treated overseas in my
Oh.
industry.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was like really shook me.
Mhm.
Child labor
Yeah.
and knowing what some of these things are doing to the environment. I did start to seek out companies who had more work that they were doing in the
Mhm.
humanitarian area. And it wasn't too many that were in New York. I
Mhm.
couldn't really travel like I wanted to at the time. So I kind of stayed with it for a little while. I went into kids related things. So
Yeah.
I felt like I was at least working in an area where the standards were higher.
Yeah.
So that whole thing was wiped off the table kind of with child labor as far as I knew. The
Mhm.
quality of materials. It's like because I learned so much, I became sensitive to every aspect of it.
Yeah.
I ended up working lastly in layettes, which is like infant wear.
Yeah.
And it was great. I love the company. They worked with organic products. They had a really good footprint in the industry as far as, the work that they did, giving back. But social work was kind of always kind of in the background calling at me.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, though, working for the city, by comparison to the private sector, I had to find my balance with, that's a huge cut.
That's understandable.
But
Look,
what
you have
it
to figure
fulfilled
out,
me
all
on.
right, where can I make the most impact? And it looks like I can make more impact here. However, you can still sit here because there's still something calling you to change lives, redirect lives, save lives, whatever that thing is. But the impact goes into here, the work that you're creating, and this legacy that you're leaving behind for your family, your daughter. I can't wait for her to hear this when she grows older. She'll be like, wait. This $1 million company my mama left behind was all inspired around this.
Oh yeah, I try to keep her in the mix. I try to have her next to me a lot of times when I'm writing. She reads and does read alouds as well. I'm gonna get her, to be an entrepreneur as much as I can. I know it's not an easy thing, and I've seen a lot of my peers and elders working at it. And it's different nowadays because we have so many more resources than
Yeah,
they had. But it's tireless work.
it
Tireless
is,
work.
but I would say it's rewarding
It's
work
so
as well.
rewarding. Yes.
It's tireless, but it's also rewarding. And I'm excited to see what the next generation of entrepreneurs do, because this next generation of entrepreneurs, I was in a forum like probably like I want to say 3 weeks ago. No, not 3 weeks ago. 3 months ago, and we were talking about entrepreneurship, and somebody had this data that showed that Black women are the highest leading new entrepreneurs, and they're doing it without VC funding. They're doing it without the traditional way that the old companies are started, and they're successful. They're becoming more successful, and so I think people are taking notice to that. And then there's more funding opportunities, and just more resources that they're collecting themselves to share within their communities to help them become successful. Because I guess the corporate world just wasn't cutting it for a lot of these Black women. They get stifled, they couldn't grow, or it just wasn't meant for them, right? And so they decided to go the entrepreneurship route, or they go back to school, get degrees, and then they can come out, get those degrees, and then if they can't move up, they move out and move into entrepreneurship, either accidentally or because they're kind of forced with no other options. And so I'm excited to see, because you're going to pass on something down to your daughter that she didn't have, so she'll get a little head start because you can show her the ins and outs because you've learned it. And you're like, here's my blueprint. Now take my blueprint, go make it better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. From the ground. Just like I was
Yeah.
saying earlier. I've even been teaching her how to invest.
What?
Small doses, small doses.
All right, look at you. All right, super mom. So I gotta ask this question: what was your first job? Because hey, as someone like you who had Jackson all trades. Now y'all see how far she come, y'all. Like she. I truly think she got the Jamaican side of her family. She had all these jobs, but what was the first job that you've ever had? Like you got a check for?
Petland discount.
Petland discount for working at Petland to owning businesses and doing social work.
I loved animals.
All right. What would you say is there anything that you learned from that first job that's kind of helped your career growth, or that you kept with you throughout the years?
I would say the passion that I put into my work. Even though I was just slinging pet food and taking care of, scooping animals, I did what I did with a lot of passion, talking to the customers, the way I did research outside of work and brought it to work. I always brought in a little something extra
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I was kind of internally promoted
Yeah.
into like helping the manager exclusively. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know what I know now, and like I should have gotten a better pay raise, but I
It's
was
okay.
given
You were
more
young. You didn't
responsibility.
know. You didn't
Yeah, I
know.
didn't know no better. Yeah, but I got to do more, to learn more, and in a sense, be the right hand for the store because he saw that it was more than just, a paycheck for me. Like I really cared about what I was doing. I wanted to learn more and know more. And that's why I always tell people if you're in a space where you're not continuing to learn and to grow, it's time to move on.
Nah, that's definitely. I consider myself a lifelong learner, so that's a definitely good advice. If you heard that, take that advice. Now, uh, you you had you for me. I feel like you've had so many great experiences. What's when you look at your career, your life, wherever you want to draw this next question and inspiration from, what do you feel that's one good lesson life has taught you?
Stay spiritually determined.
Stay spiritually determined. Okay, elaborate on that.
Because sometimes, things can beat you down and make you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you can't do it
Mm-hmm.
or you shouldn't do it. You can't always look externally for that thing to pull you back and bring you up. So it has to come from inside. You have to do the work of doing the mental health and healing and strengthen yourself internally so that you can draw on your own strengths to push you
Mm-hmm.
through. I'm going to throw something else at you. As a
Okay.
martial artist,
Oh my
I have
goodness.
to do that a lot. When I first started in high school, I was experiencing a lot of issues trying to fit in and
Uh-huh.
eating things I shouldn't eat with my condition. And it
Uh-huh.
caused me a lot of health issues. And
Mm-hmm.
in doing my martial arts, I was always kind of faking it and kind of pushing myself in a way that I shouldn't be to get through it. And I knew that I wanted to go far in this.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, though, in high school, I had to stop because it was my body was not well and I couldn't keep up with it. But as I got older, I got back into the practice
Mm-hmm.
and drawing on where I knew I needed to, make some corrections in my life. And it was years between the
Mm-hmm.
time I got back into it to now. I'm still like loosely practicing. Kind of things really stopped after COVID, but I draw on all of that when I'm feeling like, okay, this is getting hard. I have to, do this type of training, do that type of training in order just to get through this kata or in order to get to my next belt. So I know that no matter what externally for me, therapy, supplements, no matter what I take, if I don't do this work to train for this goal, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to that, I also have to do this. On top of everything else I do, I have to have this focus on my training in order to get, to the next goal.
Yeah, I think it's each 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 step kind of like, well, first I would say I'm learning that lesson too right now, to listen to my body and make sure that I put the right things within the next phase of what my body needs, like whether it be rest, time off, and I started to learn that through the pandemic because you try to push through, you like, and then all the visuals we saw in the pandemic and the things that came up on our phones and people talking about this, losing people. I tried to push through it, so I definitely resonated with everything you said because I started thinking about, it's like, man, yeah, this is a reminder, if anything, that, like, sometimes you have to take that pause and do what's needed for your overall health, not just your mental health, but your physical health as well, so that you can have that wholeness. I don't know. How do they say it in the community? Is that how they say it? Wholeness.
That's what I say.
That's what you say. All right. Well,
I say
I'm gonna repeat
wholeness.
what you say.
To be whole.
Be whole, not just half of yourself. um. So you're gonna inspire somebody who's gonna listen to this episode, and what's some advice you would give to someone who wants to start a career, not in like all the industries you mentioned. Like I know you in mental health, you a kickboxer, but with what you've kind of started with Aurora, going into entrepreneurship, and writing books. What else does Aurora do? Give me the breakdown. I'm drawing design. Yeah, like so.
You want all of it? All of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. Okay, all right, maybe not all of it. So getting to the artistry of creating a business that fuels your fire and passion. Let's go from there. What some advice would you give to somebody who wants to start a career similar to the way, or a business similar to the way you kind of started your business? What's some advice you would give to them?
I would say you definitely have to do your research. I want to say get educated, but I know this day and age, a lot of people are kind of shying away from formal education, and that's okay. You need to find the right teacher if that's the case. Learn, fill your cup.
Mm.
Once you feel like you've at a point where you're about to spill over, put all that you got to work. You have to put it to work. You have to allow yourself to fail and keep going at it to see if this is really where you want to go. If this is your real passion, start doing the work of making it legitimized. And I feel like that's a lot of issue with peers I know, very talented, but we kind of stay in the vein of it being a hobby, being an investor. I have to throw out there that there is a lot of benefit to legitimizing what you do and making the government work for you and making sure that you expand your knowledge in that realm as well. It's difficult. It's very difficult to go from being an artist to having to be your own legal attorney and know the ins and outs of how to copyright and doing this and that. It's worth the headache. Definitely, I would say for myself, family and support is a big part of it as well. You don't have to do it alone. Wherever you can, enlist people of like minds to help you in what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. And you definitely want to stay in groups of like minds to keep you motivated and to keep you going.
Nah, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. So what does the future have in store for Aurora?
So I'm going to be continuing my podcast on YouTube. That's Aurora Global. And we do the children's books reads, we do media discussions, and all of it's surrounded by the lessons we could pull out of it and how we're going to now filter that to our children to make sure that they're getting the lesson. Because for me, everything boils down to that. How can we take all of this and make sure that, the 4 or 5-year-old can understand and break it down? I'm also doing a podcast with Darlene Marie called Cospod, where we talk about geek loving stuff because we're geeks as well at heart. Cosplay, but we do talk about social media as well, social justice. But we raise money for charitable causes like food drives, visiting children in hospitals that are sick, coat drives, and other community events. I also am a part of the diversity group.
Nice.
With the CF Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And we talk about the inequities in healthcare.
Yeah.
And we're working on changing things in that realm.
Okay.
Policies, how things are diagnosed. And that goes for healthcare in general, not just for cystic fibrosis, because
Yeah.
For
You
us.
know.
I'm currently working also on doing some branding and merchandising work for all my groups,
Uh-huh.
just to kind of get out, whether it be tees, dresses, or whatever, to let people know, we're here. This is what we do. We want your support. There's so many Black organizations that people just never heard of, don't know about. And I want to make sure that they're heard too. I always open my platform for
You will be
people.
both. You will be both.
We have to for each other.
So when you find them, please send them my way. And once I find them, I'll send them your way.
On it. Yeah.
uh, um, so I was gonna say what projects are you currently working on, but I think you gave me most of them.
I think that's all of them. I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. Okay, yeah. So where can the people find you? You said Facebook, Instagram. Where's the best place to connect? You got the YouTube channel too, right?
If you go on AroaraGlobal.com,
Okay.
everything is there as well.
All right.
Website got the pictures. It has the links for social media.
Uh-huh.
Everything.
All right. And then look, it for everybody who is listening and you're driving, if we still do that, drive time to work, I'm gonna get all the notes from her of all the places where you can connect with her, and I'm gonna put it in the show notes. So don't worry if you couldn't quite get it down, you couldn't get to your phone. Just focus on the road, y'all. Focus on the road. We're gonna have it in the show notes, and you can go back and click on there and connect with Annette there. Annette, thank you so much for just being the shining light of energy and creative being that you are, and sharing your story with us. Any last words for the people? Anything you want to share that we didn't get a chance to tackle? Last words of wisdom?
No, I just want to say thank you. Always in the vein of giving thanks. Everybody just share on, share on. That's all I can say. Just
You heard it.
keep it flowing.
Share on and keep it going. Let's keep the community sharing and caring for one another. This has been another episode of Rise Urban Nation. Annette Perry, everybody.